Hello and welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel. And we do mean welcome back. It has been a couple of weeks, but it is none other than your favourite two racing car sim drivers. I've lost the plot. It's been a while. But we are reviewing none other than Gran Turismo,
Yes.
which is directed by Neil Blomkamp, who is quite well known. He's been director of District 9, which I think is an
I really
absolute,
like that.
absolute
Underrated.
genuine masterpiece. I don't think it's underrated. I think it's very highly rated.
Yeah, maybe
I'd
it's
say,
underrated for me.
But has also done Elysium and Chappie. So I guess they're probably his most well-known projects. And then now he's done this. So it's a bit of, I guess, a departure, being the previous two films were very sci-fi, all of them. But it is, Gran Turismo, which if you don't know, it is based on a true story. Essentially kind of based after the game itself, which is a PlayStation racing sim.
Yep.
I guess the true story is back in the early 2000s, they set up a competition that the fastest players would, I guess, go to an academy at the potential of driving an actual race car and going from there. But it is based on a true story, starring David Harbour, which for anyone who doesn't know is none other than Hopper from Stranger Things.
Spot on.
Which I guess he's most well known for, as well as the critically acclaimed Hellboy, most recent one. I'm kidding, it was awful. But
Violent Night also, special mention.
and Orlando Bloom.
Yes.
But what did you overall think of the film? Obviously, it was
Well, firstly, pleasure,
We don't know all
pleasure
of
to be back.
Yeah.
You know, a couple of weeks ago is pretty quick and also pretty long at the same time. So thanks for sticking by us. But, well, I don't know where to start. I guess I didn't actually know it was based on a true story until I guess you provided that education maybe a few weeks back. Well, actually, when I probably paid attention to you giving me that education. I have no doubt you probably said it to me earlier, as he normally does, and I don't listen. But what an interesting story. Like I feel like that upsets me that I didn't know about this whole journey that went on. But this film was fucking fantastic. I'm going straight to the big ball there, and I love this. This had a bit of everything for me. This had what all good films have: great acting, good character development. It had a great friggin' soundtrack or score or combination of both. I think it's more soundtracks than scores, but like everything for me was standout. There was actually moments in this film. I know I normally go through a sequence of like touching on cinematography, touching on acting, and go through little parts, but there was parts in this film where my actual like blood pressure went up. My heart started pumping out of like excitement. I'm like, this has got some serious hype to it. I'm actually nervous about what's going to happen in this film. And, there is obviously no spoilers if you're familiar with the because it is based on a true story on those current those realistic events. Sorry, but yeah, there was good hype. There was good tension. There was a lot you could get out of this too, other than just being like a video game. Someone gets to experience this real life event, then they get to like be this cool racer. Like there's a lot of life lessons that I think this film tries to teach you, and I think it does well on that. I won't touch on too much of that with likes, but it's never too late to ever like try to meet your dream, and it's no matter what anyone else says, give it a crack. And I feel like that's a lot of the vibes of this film. But it was great. David is fantastic.
David Harbour.
Yeah, David Harbour. Absolutely fantastic. The man could do absolutely nothing, and I'd give him some extra props. But him and Archie were absolutely fantastic in this, and I wouldn't say carried the film on their back, but it might have been on their shoulders, that's for sure. But I won't really go through kind of like the rest of the cast. I think they were good, but they probably weren't there enough to really stand out and like elevate themselves above definitely David and Archie, who really were the foundation of the film. Orlando, of course, had some nice points here and there, but the foundation of it was those two and that relationship, and that was absolutely phenomenal to watch. Beautifully shot. Some of the animation stuff was unreal. Like there's some of that animation stuff you would have seen in the trailers too, so there's no spoilers there, but like the transition between like the real life racing to the simulation and back, like some of that stuff was absolutely dope. The breakdown of real engines and real science, which shows actually also the love that was put into the original like game to where this was. And obviously it was brought a little bit further towards the future, but it was they did it well. They gave it a lot of justice. If this is exactly what it was like, it felt really faithful, which I have no clue. But it felt good. But I don't know where to go. Oh, it was beautiful. The shot, I really enjoyed this, but I don't know where to go. I'm going to throw it straight over to you from here because, it was good.
I personally think this whole film is a not commercial, but an infomercial about how to pronounce Nissan.
Yeah, I did notice actually.
So I have been saying Nissan
As
my whole
most
life, as
probably-
most probably Australians or Americans, I don't know. But obviously, being in the film so prevalent, they would obviously have to give the tick of approval.
Yeah.
And for all you out there, it is pronounced Nissan. So
fuck it, I'm gonna
there you
stuff
go. Little do you know. But no, I by no means do I think this is like the best film I've ever seen
Oh, no.
or a fantastic
No.
film. It is just a perfectly enjoyable like popcorn flick for me. Like I really enjoyed it. I don't know personally if I like would watch it again because, as you said, the whole tension and things like that built up was primarily on a first watch basis. I feel like for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But in terms of, I guess I'll start on the first aspect of the actual direction. Neil Blomkamp, I think, did a great job here. Obviously, it's a bit of a departure from his previous work, being very sci-fi heavy, but you can tell he sort of nitpicked of what he wanted to bring in. But I got to give him props, like the racing sequences and especially the last 30 minutes. Like there is talent on display in terms of directing, and
Yep.
also I don't know if we reviewed it or if we were reviewing films at the time, but I think it took a little bit of, I guess, inspiration from Michael Bay's Ambulance. Because I
Yeah.
noticed this is probably one of the only other films apart from that which actually uses
Like
drone
scenes,
and pretty prevalent within the film, and it does really well, and it suits. It wouldn't suit every film by any means, but it really suits this, and it does make you. I'm a big fan of like F1 and not so much all motor racing, but F1 and even racing car games, and I think it really did work in this scenario and in this setting. So I've got to give it props there as well. And as you said, David Harbour as Jack really kind of steals the show. He's a very charismatic dude, but he's a very likable person.
Yeah.
Orlando Bloom, we haven't really seen so much, I guess, since the last probably Pirates or the Carnival Row TV show. But it's good to see him back. He wasn't sort of in the film too much, but he was fine. But I also agree, Archie, who plays John, was really good, and he's been in other films beforehand, like side character in Midsummer,
Yep.
which I love, but I guess this is obviously his first leading role, and he definitely has the chops. But no, I agree with you. I think the little not necessarily Easter eggs, but the respect it pays to its obviously original video game, the little camera angles when they're racing that's like the video game itself, and even the first person, just little things here and there that for the fan of Gran Turismo or for the fan of racing games will really enjoy.
Agreed.
The only thing is, I don't know how that would feel for non-racing car game fans, because it can, like, I can imagine it might be quite jarring going from there to the... And it feels very like arcadey, and it works because it's obviously based after this story, and it works for me and you, because we're obviously fans of that. But I don't know how that would hold up with the non-video game fan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But for me, it did work, and I really enjoyed it. But man, no, the only thing I guess in terms of my only... Not negative or anything, but I just felt that the film probably could have, for me, maybe used a little bit more of character development. It definitely had the character beats, like the family situations and all these character beats that kind of made you empathize with the characters like Jack, who's played by David, and John. But I guess hitting those character beats doesn't fully, I guess, develop that character. The only hard thing is, obviously, it is based on a true story. So, and John's obviously a real life person, that it might be a bit hard to do that. So I can't necessarily, I guess, take any points away from it from that degree. But no, I think it's definitely a really enjoyable film, especially if you do like car racing and motorsports, and obviously a fan of even video games or racing video games, there's definitely fun to be had. It is an enjoyable flick. Do I think it's the best film in the cinemas right now? No, not by any means. You've got Barbie and Oppenheimer, which are both, probably two of my favorite films of the year at this stage. But no, if you've got nothing to do or you have already seen them, I think this is a perfectly enjoyable film that does shine with the racing. I do think it kind of falters a little bit when it takes it away from the racetrack, because the racetrack when it is on the racetrack, it has such creative directing and editing and sound design through that whole time that when it's not, it kind of does, I guess, falter when it's at those character beats. And I guess that's my only takeaway from it in terms of the things that probably could have improved on. But no, I thought it was a perfectly enjoyable film, and I've got no real complaints. I thought it did everything well, but just didn't take it to that next level to me where I'm like, this is unbelievable. I'm going to watch this all the time kind of thing. So.
Definitely for me, which now that you've kind of talked, and always when he says something, I reflect on things that I've said and what I'm thinking. And generally I might do that over several days or moments or whatever that looks like. But you're right about because we're gamers, it's a little bit more tailored towards us. But for me, a lot of this, even though I didn't know about this real life event, racing car games was a huge part of my childhood. From basic Need for Speed, but I used to play all the V8 supercar games and stuff, which don't know if they were only Australian release or whatever that looked like. But I have a lot of foundations of F1 and racing games. So I think that's for me. I really soaked up that integration between real life and the gaming, and I'm like, okay, that's what brought me down. But you're right, maybe it probably wouldn't have the rewatch value, because I think I'd lose that adrenaline and the love the second time. It was there because I saw it once, but I'm not sure it'd be there the next time.
I think, I guess the best way I can put it is the story is a really heartfelt, underdog story, which everyone can get around. I think what elevated it to a really enjoyable film was the attention to detail, and you'll probably only notice that being a fan of those,
bit of a nerd.
The little audio of the PS boot up, and the little audio of the changing of rankings in the grid, and the racing
the menu
lines
start button where it slows down and shows you where your car is.
Yeah, the racing lines and things like that. So that's what kind of elevated it to me for little enjoyment aspects. I just don't know how that'll hold up, but at the end of the day, I'm reviewing it because reviews are subjective. So that's how I feel. I really enjoyed that because I can relate to that, and it kind of felt like a little bit of,
Correct. Yeah, I got you.
a token thing that really hit. But no, we were lucky enough to see this, as there is advanced screenings in Australia over the weekend. I think it comes out on the 10th of August, which is next week. But if you were lucky enough to catch one of the early screenings over the weekend, comment below, let us know what you think. If not, we'll catch you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.